You know that list we all have. Someday I'll learn guitar, someday I'll travel. Well, today we're going to tear a page out of Matthew Dick's book and talk about how to stop waiting for someday. It's time to figure out how to finally start doing. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Are you waiting for the perfect moment? For a little more time, a little more money, maybe a sign from the universe. It's such a common trap, right? We put our biggest, most important dreams on hold for a someday that, let's be honest, might never actually show up. Dix has this brilliant metaphor for this feeling, the code monkey. It's from a song about a programmer who absolutely hates his job. He dreams about a better life, but he's just stuck, paralyzed by his routine. It just perfectly captures that feeling of being trapped in the day-to-day while your real life is just sitting there, waiting for you. So why should we listen to this guy, Matthew Dix? Well, because his advice wasn't thought up in some comfy ivory tower. Nope. It was forged in the fire of some really, really tough life experiences. To really get his method, you've got to understand his story first. And it starts here. At just 22 years old, an age when you're supposed to be starting your life, Dix hit absolute rock bottom. He was homeless, a million miles away from the successful author he'd one day become. And believe it or not, it got even worse. He was literally living out of his car, probably feeling like all his dreams were just turning to dust. And then, to top it all off, he gets arrested for a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with. Can you just imagine that feeling of total hopelessness? And then, bam, the moment that flipped his entire world upside down. He was working at a McDonald's, and a traumatic, violent robbery took place. It was a terrifying, brutal wake-up call that forced him, head-on, to confront his own mortality. Going through something like that, it forces a kind of clarity, and it led him to this profound realization. This quote just says it all. Death is not waiting for us at the end of a long road. Death is always with us, in the marrow of every passing moment. It's not some far-off event, it's right here, all the time, urging us to actually live. And out of that really dark place, he developed this whole new framework for making decisions. He calls it the 100-year-old plan. Okay, so what is this plan? It's actually super simple, but man, is it powerful. Whenever you're facing a choice, big or small, you just ask yourself, what would the 100-year-old version of me want me to do? What this does instantly is it shifts your focus away from short-term fears and anxieties and puts it squarely on long-term happiness and fulfillment. It helps you build a life of amazing stories, not regrets. So how do you actually do it? It's pretty straightforward. First, just take a second and really picture that 100-year-old you, wise, seen it all. Then, lay out your problem for them. Should I take this risk? Should I make that change? And then, you just listen. Listen for the answer that leads to a better story, the one you'll be proud to tell when you're 100. Now look, the power of this plan is it's undeniable. It gives you this incredible clarity. But to be fair, we should look at the other side too. Some critics say it can be a little too simple, that it might make you overlook some very real, very urgent needs you have right now. So it's a fantastic tool, for sure, but maybe not a magic wand for every single situation. Okay, so we've got the big picture mindset, but what about the day-to-day grind, right? How do we put this into action? Well, Dix gives us this awesome toolkit of really memorable, kind of unconventional rules. Let's break down 3 of the best ones. All right, rule number 1, and you gotta love this one, is be a criminal. And no, it is definitely not what you think. Now hold on, he's not telling you to go rob a bank. What he is saying is this. Start reclaiming your time by breaking the small, pointless, soul-crushing rules. He gives a perfect example from his own life. As a teacher, he had to sit through these mind-numbingly boring faculty meetings. But instead of just zoning out, he secretly wrote a novel during them. He stole that time back for something that actually mattered to him. Okay, next up, a rule that's all about throwing open the doors to opportunity and just seeing what happens. Say yes. It's crazy what can happen from a single yes. Early in his career, a friend just randomly asked him to be a wedding DJ. Dix had 0 experience, no idea what he was doing, but he said yes. And that one decision started this incredible domino effect that led him to officiating weddings, which led to storytelling, which led to writing books, even creating musicals. His entire future cracked open because of one yes. And this last one, honestly, this might be my favorite, just because it's so freeing. Make terrible things. This rule is basically a full-on attack against that little voice in your head that says it's not good enough yet. So many of us never start because we're terrified our first try won't be perfect.
Dick says, forget that. The goal isn't to create a masterpiece on day one. The goal is to just make something. That terrible first draft is infinitely better than the perfect masterpiece that only ever exists in your head.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together, shall we? We've talked about the big picture mindset with the 100-year-old plan, and we've got the toolkit of rules. Now, it's all about making it happen for you. So if you only remember a few things, make it these. Use that 100-year-old plan when you need clarity on the big stuff. Be a criminal to steal back your time from things that don't matter. Say yes and see what new doors open, and please, always, always choose progress over perfection. So I'm going to leave you with a question, a really important one. Forget about someday. Just for a moment, if you could actually talk to that wise 100-year-old version of yourself, what's the one thing they would be begging you, pleading with you, to start right now, today?